Hello, hello. How's it going, everybody? Mic check 1 2 1 2. All right, I think we're live. So we're going to be doing a quick live stream tutorial on how to stabilize shaky footage when you're out plane spotting and you're recording. Let me adjust the audio level here 1 second. All right, 1 sec. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna try to fix some footage that is shaky here. There's a couple different videos that we're gonna try to do. So we're gonna try to do this live on After Effects. All right, switching over to the live After Effects here. Okay, so that's just really quick. This is going to be live, so there's going to be trial and error. I'll probably skip over some things that if it's not doing what we want it to do right away, and that's just the way it goes when you're stabilizing footage. But we're going to try to just stabilize this footage. This is basically the results that we are going to go for here on the left here. This footage has already been stabilized, and I'm hitting play. So the footage that you're seeing now is a shot of this airplane landing. The problem that I was having is when you're sometimes recording and you're on the tripod and you're doing your best to keep the image smooth, to keep the shot smooth. It doesn't always turn out how you want it to. There's you do your best to pan over and you're still getting some shakiness, or you're trying to keep the airplane in the middle of the shot. It's not always the easiest thing, but by stabilizing your shot on After Effects, you're able to actually eliminate a lot of that movement. And so if you see this black screen here, so what it's doing, what you're telling After Effects to do is to keep the airplane in the center of the screen, and it's going to adjust the X and Y axis to keep the airplane in the middle, in the center. So it almost looks like the airplane is actually gliding. Here, let me forward this to a spot where you can almost see it sort of glide. It actually looks pretty cool once you render this out and you export it, and gets rid of all the shakiness. So one of the some people have asked for me to do this tutorial, so we're just going to do it live. And if you do happen to have a question on as we're doing this process, feel free to to ask the question. We're going to be going through this pretty quickly. It's a pretty quick live, and let's get started. So here on the right hand side, I have the Swiss Air. I've already started to stabilize it, just so we can kind of get a feel of what it would look like. I'm gonna go ahead and so let's see, it's playing it out. Okay, here it is on the. So up until about this point, right about here. Okay, see, now the stabilization, I haven't rendered out the rest of the effect. So you'll see the tripod moving, the camera movement, and we're trying to get rid of a lot of that. So here you can already see where the effect has already been processed and then it stopped, right? So I just wanted to show you guys what that would look like if you're not, with the motion tracking stabilization, and then boom, it's not there anymore, right? So it's shaky. All right, so what you want to do, this is using After Effects. what you want to do is you want to go to Window, and you open up the tracker tool, which is already checked here, which is already turned on, and you click on stabilization, stabilize motion, and you select the tracker that you want to use, right? So I already have this tracker, so I'm gonna go ahead and let's start, just start it over. And we don't have any trackers turned on. I'm selected on this layer here, never mind these other ones. So I'm selected on this middle one, this number 2, clip number 2 here. So I'm gonna click stabilize, tracker 1, tracker 1, and then if you click on options, you can name your tracker here, or I usually just leave this alone, but you can come over here, make sure that if confidence is below it, I keep it at 80, and when the confidence is not 80%, at 80%, I come over here and I tell it to stop tracking, which means that once it loses its source of tracking, like the object that it's tracking, once it kind of feels like, I kind of lost my place, it'll stop tracking. You can come back, adjust the tracking point, and just hit continue. So let's get started. This is tracker 1. Click on it, expand it. You want to expand the tracking point, and then I try to look for something that has a lot of contrast. You can keep this here in the cross, and there's 2 boxes. The 2 boxes, I select the smaller box. It's the actual point where you want it to track, and then the larger box is I want you to, look in this area for that tracking point, is from what I understand. So you come over here and you're gonna hit play. So you go to the beginning of the clip where you want it to start tracking. Let's start tracking right about here. So let's see, I'm gonna make an adjustment here. I want it to start tracking sort of about here. You come over and let's see, let's find that spot again. Come right here, boom, it's ready. Hit play, and now it's starting to track. Now this is the part that takes a while. It's a bit of a slow process. So I clicked, I stopped it. I want to show you guys what it's creating here before we continue. See all these little tracking points? It's basically creating keyframes of it's adjusting the camera, the positioning of the entire window, of the entire clip, to try to keep that airplane as centered as possible. So let's start this over, hit play. See, it's creating all those keyframes. This is, again, the part that takes the longest, and it basically has to play out every single frame. It's adjusting every single frame as it goes. So we'll do this tracking, we'll do this video clip, and then we'll switch over to another video clip that I wanted to try this on. It was from a Southwest airplane, which was a bit of a closer shot, and I want to try to stabilize that shot. Again, you have to try this a few different times sometimes, because you may not like the results. You come back, you find a different tracking point that may work a little better, that's a little more smooth, and once you select that point, hit play. It'll go through basically go through this process a few times, and until you're happy, then you render it out and you export the shot. After you've actually tracked this and it's done its work, you're gonna want to resize the shot, just crop out the black areas, and it's gonna potentially lower the resolution, but I think you'll be fine. Okay, so it stopped on its own. It means that it probably lost its reference, which usually happens when there's like a rough camera movement. If there's a rough trip, you know, if I'm panning and then I accidentally bump the tripod, or I do a rough movement, it it will kind of lose its point. So then it stopped. I go back and I'll hit play again. And if it continues to stop, then you're gonna want to do this icon here. Instead of the play button, hit this, which is frame by frame, and it'll start going frame by frame. You might have to reposition this tracking target. You might have to just reposition it every single frame. Now, I will say that that does make the shot a little more choppy, and the final results may not be, you know, the most ideal. So you might have to look for a different tracking point at the and start over. So that's the only that's one of the downsides of using the After Effects to track and stabilize motion, is that with fast moving objects like these, sometimes it's trial and error. This is why I don't do it to everything that I shoot. It just takes forever. It's tough enough to find time to edit, and you want to simplify your editing. But if you are interested in doing some of the the motion stabilized motion tracking, warp stabilizer, this is a cool little feature. This has been used in different commercials, like they've done the LeBron, I believe in Nike has done this for a couple different commercials with LeBron James. I think it was like Beats did this. It was a pretty cool effect. I'll try to pull it up maybe a little later, but okay, see, it stopped again. All right, so fit screen. All right, I think we kind of got the feel of what it's going to look like. Let's do a quick playback. All right, and it's rendering out, so see this over here. Let's do fit. All right, so let's play it out. See how it's keeping the airplane right in the middle, is trying its best to keep it stable. Okay, so this is what's going to keep your airplane stable here. So for some reason it stopped. The anchor point kind of lost its anchor point here. If you can see that, see how it's adjusting the camera, it's adjusting the frame here, then all of a sudden it just stops doing the movement. That just means that we have to probably gonna have to redo it. And I don't want to sit here and just for the sake of showing you guys what it looks like, I'm just going to go ahead and delete that tracking point. I'm going to do a reset here, just reset everything. Let's see. All right. See, this is the beauty of doing this live, is that, all right, so reset it. I'm going to go ahead and just start it right, let's see. After this rough movement, I'll start it here. How about that? All right. So you guys can see that movement. So this is the original video. We're going to try to stabilize that right there, that rough tripod movement. Now that's going to be tough to do, and which means that we're going to have to zoom in quite a bit to get that movement removed. So a lot of the cameras, just so you kind of get a feel of this, a lot of the cameras, when you are doing the stabilization, like the IBIS, it's doing this motion internally, and to accomplish that, it has to shoot at a high a higher resolution. So it's basically taking all that information, and if you were to tell it, for example, the DJI Action 5, you want it to stabilize some motion, the horizontal stabilization on it, it essentially keeps things, you want to keep the horizon, it'll keep this horizon like steady, and they'll allow you to actually turn your camera, like do like a 360, but it actually keeps this motion steady. I mean, it keeps this shot, the horizon, it'll keep it straight. It won't flip the camera with the rotation. So like it won't do this. It'll actually just keep it. It'll keep it pretty straight. So what it's doing is that it's taking the resolution and it's cropping in. So it'll do one of these here so that you're not seeing what's going on the outside, and it's keeping this object centered. Now that's great. The problem with that is that it will reduce the resolution of your shot, and if you're shooting 4K, it actually crops it down to, I believe, 1920. I think it's actually not even at 1920. I would have to go back and look at the resolution, but it does crop down your image. So when you do it in After Effects, in post-production, After Effects does a pretty good job keeping the resolution, because it uses the software where it doesn't, if you hit scale here, it actually, you're adjusting the pixels, you are stretching pixels. But if you are working with the axis, with the z-axis, it's using the software to punch in, so you're not stretching pixels and you're not losing as much resolution. So there, I know that's a lot, but I know that's a lot of information. But let me just show you really quick how to stabilize this. So again, we chose our starting point, which is going to be right about here. So let's do this really quick. All right, let's see. Let's bring this over here. Right about there. Okay, we're going to start here. So again, go to Window, open the tracker, make sure it's checked. It'll open it up here, hit Stabilize. It creates a tracker. You go to your tracking point here, and I am going to pick this cross, and I'm going to hit the play button. So now it's going to track. So it's tracking. So we'll just do this quick, just do a few seconds of this so you're not sitting through the entire thing. I'll just show you really quick what it does. So again, this, you will need not all computers are going to be able to handle motion tracking, and you want to make sure that you have a computer with plenty of RAM and graphics, and a good graphics card. Otherwise, you're just going to be frustrated the whole time. It's not even, it'll actually, many times what it'll do is it'll just freeze up your computer, and you're not going to be happy. So just, if you are planning on doing this, just make sure you have your computer is fast enough to handle motion tracking. If you guys, I can show you guys what my computer, the information on my computer on how much RAM and all that in the comments. if you guys are interested, just ask and I will try to get that info for you on the how fast my computer is. And this computer is pretty fast. It's a Mac Studio. All right, so I stopped it. After you've completed your, the motion tracking, I'm not gonna sit here through the entire thing because it's just gonna take forever, but you come back here after it's completed the motion tracking on its own. You hit apply, hit OK, and it'll actually do the tracking. So this is the final results here. Okay, see how when it stopped, it actually. So this is the motion, the part that was. See how it kept the. See this, all this area here? That's basically my camera movement. That rough camera movement that I was doing earlier. That is basically this. See. So right now, see how the airplane is now is in the center, it's not moving around everywhere. So if you compare it to the right side versus the left side, you can see the difference. So the way that it compensates for that is it'll adjust the positioning of the frame. Now, the step 2 to that would be that I would have to punch in. I'll use the scaling here, but there's another way of doing this by adding a camera, and you can just zoom in digitally. But I'm going to, just for the sake of time, I'm going to do this manually. And then if you were okay, so I have to keep cropping in. Sorry, there's a lot of background noise. So there's a lot of background noise. Sorry about that. Okay, I zoomed in. You have to keep zooming in to where you don't see any of the black frame creeping up on your shot. All right. So let's now hit play. The left is the final result. This here. Okay, so I only have about 4 seconds. So we stabilized about 4 seconds worth of footage here. Okay, and now this other stuff is not stabilized. So again, it's not a quick process. It is time consuming, and we are doing this live here, so it takes a while to do. But let's do this let's try to stabilize this other shot here, and so this is the original footage, the raw footage here. And I can already tell you that we're going to be zoomed in quite a bit. Our final result will probably be cropped in probably this close. Just because the shot to begin with it's pretty close zoomed in. All right, so let's go to the beginning of the shot here. Let's go to the beginning of the shot, go to the stabilizer. So let's see, stabilize, motion tracker. Oh, we have 2 here. Okay, motion tracker 1, tracker 1. Okay, now go back to this shot here. We're gonna pick, let's go with the yellow. Let's go with the red here. Okay, and you hit play. Make sure you're at the beginning of the frame. Hit play, and it is doing its thing. This is probably going to be stopping a few times because the shot's not the most stable to begin with, and there's a lot of rough movement here. Another thing to keep in mind is when you're shooting and you plan on doing this motion tracking or stabilizing, you want to make sure that you're zoomed out enough to then compensate for the crop in. So again, this is a bit of a tedious process. And what I recommend is just letting it play out, letting it do its thing through the entire shot as much as possible before you stop it. Because once you stop the tracking, you might as well just start it over. And again, it's going frame by frame through this entire landing. And let's see, yeah, this is, it's just a long process. It almost looks like it's not moving, but I guarantee you that it's moving. All right, I'm gonna stop it now so you can see. Okay, so we've stopped the tracking, right? So far, it's simply created basically a sample of it, but it hasn't applied the effect. So now I hit apply, hit OK. Now the effect is applied. Now you can compare the two screens. See how much movement there is in the shot. When you're basically, what it's doing is that it's having a hard time following the point that I selected. So there's not enough contrast here. And the best thing for me to do is probably going to be to move my shot forward. See how it's all choppy? It's having a hard time finding. Here, if I zoom in, let's see, let's go zoom in. If I zoom in, see all this choppiness? Because it's basically having a hard time figuring out what point to track. So there's not enough contrast here, and it basically doesn't like, it's doing its best to keep up. So what I recommend is, just to make your life easier, yes, there's ways to improve that, to fix it, but what I recommend is just to find a different point in the video. Here, let's start it at the landing. Or let's see, right about, it's probably good right here, right after that power line. Okay, let's have it track right about here, and we'll have it track this point. See how it does. All right, so we're gonna hit play. Just let it do its tracking for a few frames. Again, slow process, and you might want to, set it, go do something else, come back a couple minutes later, a few minutes later, and then take a look. Waiting can be a little tedious, and all right, because it literally has to go frame by frame. All right. So now I went ahead and stopped it. Here, I'm gonna hit apply. I don't know if that's enough of a sample to see the difference, but there it is. So see how it kind of gives it that glide feel to it. So let's go ahead and do it a little more further down. Let's do it a little further down where we might be able to see it a little more of that movement. Okay, right, maybe here. Let's try that here. All right, just come down. Let's see. Let's do it here on the yellow. Or even the red. Let's see if it likes the red this time. All right, hit play. Okay, now it's tracking. So again, it's like in theory, it's a pretty simple process. There's just a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of, hurry up, wait, and just setting up the tracker, doing something different. If you have something else that you can go spend your time on and then come back after it's done its render. And then you just come back and you adjust certain, keyframes that you didn't like. There is a way to fine tune it and clean it up. I won't get into that because it's a bit time consuming, but maybe I can do a video on all of this and summarize it a little better. I believe I have edited another video down that shows how to do this process. And I'm gonna try to do this video under a minute, to where we show the basics on what this, how to do this and what it looks like. So I'm basically just letting